Now, the other point that I wanted to make was, what's the way out with Egypt, right? And how does this get us back to Egypt? Because it certainly does. Here's the very interesting thing. There was a meeting, a kind of a rally, on June 15th in Cairo, I guess, which was attended by President Morsy. And there were also a whole bunch of extreme Sunni clerics, all right? And they're calling for a holy war against Assad in Syria.
Yeah, I reported on that last night. I know.
This is really something. Now, the Irish Times, is that what you had? The Irish Times article says that when Morsy went to this rally of the Egyptian crazies, that this was the last straw for the army. This was now more than 2 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago.
That's right. The army said we want nothing to do with anything except protecting Egypt. For hell with this.
Yeah, that's it. Morsy went to this rally and said, we have to have a holy war against Syria, being Assad. And it meant that the Egyptian army was going to be sent
that's right.
to do the dirty work of the imperialists in Syria. Now this may be an absolutely critical...
and in London, and in Washington, and in Paris, etc.
But so, it was, as you say then, the army then replied, not directly, but just saying, our only task is to defend the borders of this country. Because these were the things where Mubarak was better. Because Mubarak, for example, remember, Bush the younger went to Mubarak and he said, we want Egyptian troops in Afghanistan. And the answer was no. And we want Egyptian troops in Iraq. And the answer was no. And we want a U.S. base in Egypt. No. We want you to have a military alliance active with Israel. No. Right? We want you under our nuclear umbrella. No, we don't want it. And on and on. So the idea, though, is in the army, who would respond to this lunatic idea that the Egyptian army should go and fight against the Syrian army? Remember, this was once one country. This was the United Arab Republic under Nasser, right, in the 60s and 70s.
That's right.
There was something called the United Arab Republic,
UAR,
and that was Egypt and Syria. It was not actually, united as close as you might think, but still one country. So I'm wondering now, are there Nasserist colonels? In other words, when Morsy made this obscene proposal, where did the backlash occur? Was it at the top level? This guy, General Sisi, I don't know, if there ever was a yes man, it might be General Sisi.
I would say it probably is, yeah.
CC, he only says CC, right? He never says no. Now that guy he's a product of training in the U.S. and Britain. I think he's been to the, the Leavenworth Staff College or something like this. So that may not be so great. But I'm wondering, but he's also younger, so he may be better. I don't know. I'm only kidding now with the Sisi. But the Nasserist colonels, the middle rank officers who were disgusted by the imperialist sellouts of the top officers, they may be gaining in power because that's the tradition of Egypt. So I'm wondering, is it the case that the desperate bid of the imperialists to somehow pull their chestnuts out of the fire in Syria, where the terrorist armies are being slammed hard, that may be the key to the fall of Morsy, that he went too far and he tried to engineer a Syrian...
No, the Holy War story was just a knockout punch. That was really amazing to read.
But again, the Holy War meaning that the Egyptian army is sent overseas, right?
And invading another country. I mean, this is
an Arab country, a fraternal, practically the same country.
Yep.
All right. So then there's that. But now let's also look at the political side. In the presidential elections last year, the candidates that came in, the win, place, and show were Morsy came in first. Let's look at the first round. Morsy came in with 25% of the votes or so. Second was the army candidate, Shafiq, I think his name was, a colorless hack. But third, and only 700,000 votes behind the army candidate, Shafiq, is Hamdin Sabahi. And this is the guy that I think is the most promising. So if Morsy is now out and the army is pledging not to be in politics, there's a certain logic that pushes us towards Hamdin Sabahi. Notice that you have not heard the name Hamdin Sabahi from any U.S. or English language or really any other broadcasting, even though he's the number 3 guy, clearly, and he brings most of the force to this National Salvation Front, right? You're going to hear all about El Baradei. I'm sorry, El Baradei is a Western puppet.
He's a hack.
He's a hack. He's a Western puppet. He's not acceptable. The masses don't like him. But now let's look at Sabahi. Sabahi is the top secular opponent of Mubarak, right? Most of the opponents of Mubarak were the Muslim Brotherhood or Salafists or Al-Qaeda, Zawahiri or somebody like this. Hamdin Sabahi, no, he's secular. He's a Nasserist. He was arrested by Mubarak in 2003 because Sabahi was organizing demonstrations against the Iraq war that were an embarrassment to the U.S. and to Mubarak. He, as I said, he wants it's a 10% tax. If you have a fortune of over 50 million Egyptian pounds, and I believe the Egyptian pound is about 7 to $1. So if you have more than like $7 million, you should pay a one-time Tahrir tax, 10% tax on your assets to level the playing field after all the corruption of the Mubarak era. In the campaign last year, Hamdin Sabahi ran on a platform of no to the Islamists, in other words, no to the Muslim Brotherhood, and no to the IMF. So no to the Islamists, no to the neoliberals, no to the Brotherhood, no to the IMF and the market fetishists. And then he has a program where he says every Egyptian deserves, and see if this reminds you of something even from this country once upon a time, every Egyptian deserves housing, health care, food, free education, jobs, social insurance, a fair wage, and a clean environment.
Great society?
Well, it's practically the FDR.
Oh, FDR's, sure.
It's Franklin D. Roosevelt's Economic Bill of Rights of January 1944, more or less. So this is, I think, a distinguished program, and I would urge people to talk this guy up, right? Hamdin Sabahi, because this is obviously the best.
Spell his last name.
It goes 2 ways, right? Because of the problems of transliterating from a different alphabet, right? There are different variations, but it's either Sabbahi,
Sabahi,
or
all right.
Sabahi.
Well, it sounds pretty damn close either way, doesn't it?
He's Hamdin Sabahi.
Yeah, all right.
And this is Democratic Nasserist.
Well, he's rolling out an FDR, time-worn, can't lose. I mean, that appeals to everybody. Sure.
It's a classic. And again, the Nasserist combination is anti-imperialism and economic development. That is, they build the Aswan High Dam and modernize the country, right? Modern Egypt is based on that dam.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly. And above all, in a country like this, housing, right? What do they lack? They need electricity reliably 24 hours a day. They need clean water. They need massive public housing. And then they need to solve this constant food debt, right? The food deficit is that this is the biggest wheat importer in the world. When you have the Nile, you have one Nile, you can easily have 2 Niles. You could develop 20 million acres of new arable agricultural land by diverting part of the Nile slightly over to the west, and that would give you an entire, a second Nile. You could have a second.
Is that much water?
Yeah, sure. And then there's also there's aquifers underneath, as Gaddafi found.
Yeah.
In the last days of Mubarak, there was a guy called Ibrahim Kamel who talked about these things. He was a wealthy businessman. He had other things going on which were not that great.
Wrap it up, 30 seconds. We're late.
All right, so there it is. So I urge everybody, talk up Hamdin Sabahi, right? You can spread the word on this. And the other thing is that Ed Snowden is a fraud. Ed Snowden is a triple agent, right? He seems to be, on the bottom he's NSA, CIA, fine. Then he becomes whistleblower, right, traitor, whatever he is. But then ultimately he's loyal to Langley. He's doing a job for the U.S. intelligence community, which is why Putin, Maduro, Correa and Evo Morales. They don't really trust him. Otherwise, they would have taken him to Latin America. They don't trust him.
All right.
And they're right.
Very good. Excellent hour, Webster. Thank you.
Okay,
maybe,
thank you very much.
Maybe we'll talk toward the end of the month here if we need to.
Let's see how fast events go.
Okay. Be well. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Night.